right, let's get into the fantasy start sits heading into week number 12. We are starting off on Thanksgiving Day. We have a lot of action on Thanksgiving Day, leading all the way into Black Friday game, the Dolphins and the Jets, and then we have the Sunday slate. So let's get right into it. Starting with the quarterback start of the week, going with Dak Prescott. And Dak Prescott has been on an absolute tear. He's coming off of a game where he wasn't really needed. Dallas had that pick six. Tony Pollard got him a touchdown, but Dak Prescott had two touchdowns against the Panthers. Good enough for 23.9 fantasy points. But this week, gets a good matchup going up against one of the worst defenses in fantasy terms, the Washington Commanders. Now, if you looked at that game, the Giants and the Commanders, Tommy DeVito was able to put in Saquon Barkley. He had himself a good game, one of his best games yet. So I think that Dak Prescott, the way that this offense has been rolling, his connection with CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, starting to play into his potential. So really like this matchup for Dak Prescott, especially against a defense that's been struggling ever since they got rid of Chase Young. They've definitely been a different defense. That secondary has some issues. So I think that Dak Prescott and Dallas's offense should be able to be just fine. And next up is our running back start of the week, and that is Saquon Barkley, a player that we just talked about. Saquon Barkley coming off best performances in 2023, 30 fantasy points, 2 total touchdowns. 2 of the touchdowns came in the receiving department. So this is a guy, we talk about like Alvin Kamara. Saquon Barkley is also a guy that can beat you here in the reception yards, and he can also beat you on the ground with the rushing yards. So that's good enough. He's playing a PPR league. This week he gets the New England Patriots rush defense that's been a little bit up and down. I mean, the Patriots defense, we were talking about them last year being one of the best fantasy defenses. This year they haven't really been able to figure it out. There's been some injuries. So I think that's Barkley. You really look at this Giants offense. They're coming off of a good week against the Commanders. Tommy DeVito, we'll see if he can keep that up moving forward. But I think that's Saquon Barkley. He's definitely fully healthy, and I think that he's ready to go down the stretch leading up to the fantasy football playoffs. So I really like Saquon Barkley's matchup against the Patriots defense. Now, this could be more of a low-scoring game, especially the way that the Patriots offense has been rolling, but really like what I'm seeing from Saquon Barkley as of late, so I trust him against the Patriots defense this week. Next up is the wide receiver start of the week, and the time that we're recording this, A.J. Brown is playing on Monday night against the Chiefs. So we don't know what he's going to do. I'm sure that he's going to ball out. He's been a top 3 wide receiver in fantasy. Next week, going on to next week's matchup, he has to face off against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills secondary has been struggling. Injuries has definitely been hurting them. One of their top quarterbacks, Tre'Davious White, he's been out with that Achilles injury. This has been a defense that's been tested. The Buffalo Bills are outside. They're in the playoff hunt, but they're outside the playoff picture right now as they sit at 6-5. So that's a team that's really going to be in that playoff push. We'll see what the record of the Eagles will be if they can take down the Chiefs. But A.J. Brown, he's been one of the most consistent wide receivers in fantasy. Like I mentioned, he's a top 3 wide receiver. So like this matchup against the Buffalo Bills, it could be a game that the winner has to get to the 30s to win that one. So really like A.J. Brown's matchup against the Bills. Let's go on now to the sits of the week. Let's start at the quarterback position, and let's go Russell Wilson. And the Broncos are one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They just took down the Vikings to make it 4 in a row. So Russell Wilson coming off of game over 250 passing yards and a touchdown. This week, he gets the Cleveland Browns defense, and the Browns defense is the top 2 fantasy defense this year. So it's been a defense where we look at this and the sits, we haven't really been touching them. So we're not touching them again. I know that Russell Wilson, this offense is starting to figure it out. Courtland Sutton, he's been on a stretch of 4 consecutive games where he scored a touchdown. So we'll see that. But I just don't think that's going to be that game Wilson to get that QB1 mark. So sit Russell Wilson, wait for a better matchup in the upcoming weeks of left season. Moving on now to the running back sit of the week. Let's go to a committee here. There's we really like to see it's a 1A and a 1B with Chuba Hubbard. Don't really like both, especially against the Tennessee Titans. They're one of the best rush defenses. If Carolina's going to be able to score in this one, they're going to have to go through the air. Jacksonville and Calvin Ridley was able to put it on them. So Bryce Young is going to have to open it up. Maybe we see more of Adam Thielen Hayden Hurst is back, we might see more of the receivers and tight ends get involved and not let backs, because that's really where the Titans defense can really get you. So don't really like this matchup for Chuba Hubbard, especially going up against the Titans rush defense. That's been one of the top ones in the NFL this season. Last but not least, let's get into the wide receiver sit of the week. And this was a guy that was really flying under the radar at the start of the season. He was having a great fantasy season. And then, we see Jimmy G get hurt. Aiden O'Connell's now in. O'Connell's looking towards Devontae Adams. Adams is coming off a game, 50 yards receiving and also a touchdown. Jakobi Meyers in the last couple of weeks hasn't been able to get to that 50-yard threshold. It's been 2 receptions, 4 receptions. So it's kind of a drop-off that you could say, but he's got a tough matchup going up against a Chiefs secondary that's really been strong. They really flipped it around from last year's. This secondary is going to get after you. I think that this is a game that's really going to get away from the Raiders. I think the Chiefs will probably win this one convincingly. But so the way that Jakobi Meyers has been playing hasn't been consistency that you're looking for if you're in the hunt to make it to the fantasy playoffs. So sit Jakobi Meyers this week. So that's going to be it for our starts and sits heading into week number 12.